Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
And today we are joined by Julia Haart. I feel like she needs no introduction. She became super popular with the Netflix show My Unorthodox Life. She's a fashion mogul. She's been doing amazing things to combat anti-Semitism. So Julia, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much
We
for
love
having me.
everything you do. Everything you do. We're very, very impressed with you. And
Thank
you
you.
really have done a great job. But we
Thank
want to
you so
talk
much.
about other things before we get to that.
But also, can I just say, this is awesome.
Thank you.
I hope I get to do this one day with my
You will.
granddaughter.
You
That would be
will.
so cool.
You will.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you talk about family so much and your
Yes.
show is all about family. And it's crazy. It's like a family reunion because we've had two of your daughters on this podcast.
Well, thank you for that. Aren't
yes,
they
we
like
have.
literally the greatest humans of all
And they're
time?
very sweet.
So
They're very
fun.
sweet.
They're
so
And very
sweet.
different.
Oh,
Yeah.
And very different.
all my kids are so different. I
Yeah,
mean,
we-
literally all four of them.
How do you
so
think that happened?
That's the beauty of humanity. We're
Right.
all unique and different. And, I think our job as parents, as I can see happened here, is to ensure that we respect our kids' differences and just find ways to help them get what they want
Mhm.
instead
That's
of
right.
deciding what it is we think they want.
I love that. You obviously grew up in an ultra-Orthodox community. Were those values that your parents kind of gave you that you're now talking about? Or
No.
Okay.
Not exactly. Well, in my world, your biology defines your destiny. That's probably the easiest way to say
Right.
it. Born a woman, your entire life
Whoa.
is already set out.
Mm.
Your purpose, all women are
Right.
supposed to be doing the exact same thing. Go through high school-ish so that, you don't get in trouble with the government. And then get married, have babies, be subservient, hide yourself away so that men don't ever have to worry about sinning because we're just so dangerous.
Right.
That's pretty. So no, that is not at all
Yeah.
what my parents taught
Yeah.
me.
Do you see any comparisons from like 1950s womanhood to
Just go back.
ultra-Orthodox?
1800s.
It was.
Go back to
it
1800s.
was. And I mean, we're living in a much different world, of course, today for women. But it was never the same as in the ultra-Orthodox community, was
Mhm.
not the same in the regular overall community. We were very much sheltered as women. But we could, go. They encouraged us to still go to college. I mean, that was
Right.
still something, an opportunity. I mean,
But like an MRS degree.
But honestly,
but everybody wanted to get
you
married.
can't compare it to the 50s. You have to
Exactly.
compare it to the 1800s.
Exactly.
It is identical to the 1800s.
You have to go back
My
further.
life, that's why I always tell people I'm a time traveler. My
Mhm.
life was identical to a woman who lived in the
Mhm.
1800s. It was all about your marriage,
Right.
and your marriage was all dependent on how much money you had and who your ancestors were.
That's right.
And you couldn't go to school. You weren't supposed to be educated. Women were the softer sex,
Mhm.
the simpler sex, the gentler sex. They weren't allowed to wear pants. They weren't allowed to go to university. They couldn't vote. They couldn't own property.
Crazy.
All this stuff, right? So that's what my life was like.
Right.
My life was identical to the life of a woman living in the 1800s.
Right. And what's so amazing, Julia, is that you were able. I mean, it wasn't easy. I know when you broke off, you were. From what I got from the show was that your first husband was understanding. I mean, he certainly wasn't happy about the situation, but you still kept the relationship
Yeah.
with him,
I
with
mean,
the children, which was important for your children.
Very important. And also, I understood that he was as much of a victim of the situation as I was.
Exactly.
He was told that this is what he had to do,
Mhm.
just as much as I was told what I had
That's
to
right.
do.
Mm.
How can I blame him for that? Like,
Right.
you can't.
And I have to honestly say, in America, it's very hard to understand these societies and these communities. But if you go to many Orthodox communities, such as in Israel, you see this in Mesharim, you see the same things happening. It's unfortunate. It's a doctrine that should be. And if you go to Arab communities and Muslim communities and Hindu communities, if you go throughout India, it's very much the same.
Any
you know,
extremists.
That's the thing
any
about it.
extreme,
Yeah.
any extreme.
It's all
it's
they're all the same.
it's
Isn't
the
it
same. It's
crazy?
all founded
all
on the
the
same thing, that
same.
women should be subservient
That's right.
and not to upset the apple cart.
That's
which is,
it.
You've done it. In
Oh,
your
honey, I have
society.
upset
We
all
love it.
the apple carts.
And we love it. And we love it.
How did you figure that out while you were living it? Did you realize, okay, something's wrong here, or
So it took me a very, very long time because, and again, so just to be very clear, because there is an enormous amount of anti-Semitism going on. And as you know, I'm a very, very big advocate for the Jewish people. I could not be prouder to be a Jew. I love all Jewish people, of the people in my community, as much as I love all the other Jewish people. My issue has always been with the laws that keep women down, that don't give you autonomy, that give you zero self-determination. And as you said, you find it in every fundamentalist version of every religion, of every kind of belief system. The minute you get to that extreme, women suffer. End of story.
It's not only women, it's gay individuals, it's anyone who's different.
That's correct.
That
Any
is really
outliers.
anything exactly. So I think that's something we really have to take away. If you're happy living that life, you know, we're all for you, support you, but it's not for everyone, and we should be allowed to choose
That's
what we
what
want.
it's
It's
about.
a choice. It's choice, and that's something that's
Thank you.
very important.
And I think, to your point, because you touched on something that I think most people don't understand. What you said is the crux of everything, because the reality is people walk around saying, well, they're happy, this one's happy. It is not a happiness contest.
Right.
You know, when the suffragettes finally succeed, or the suffrage, no, they're not called suffragettes, one second. It's called
The suffrage movement.
No, but they're called suffragists.
Oh, are they?
Yes,
Okay.
they were actually called suffragists.
Okay.
And then the press coined them suffragettes
Jets.
to make them
Oh.
seem more girly.
Okay.
So the actual term is suffragists.
Okay.
Anyway, so when they finally get the right to vote, you would think all women come. No,
No.
30%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, it's very much an individual thing. As long as you can choose, you have your freedom of choice. And
That's
that's
it.
where we're going.
It's the laws.
it's
The
the
laws
laws
should
that keep you
enable
down.
you to choose. If you want to
Right.
be a housewife and a
Right.
mom, great.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you don't, you should have choice
Correct.
without being humiliated,
Right.
shamed, kicked
Yeah.
out of your community,
Right.
made to feel less
Exactly.
than.
Yeah. Although, wouldn't those things kind of come even if you did have choice? Like, even if there was no law keeping you anywhere?
No,
Well,
because
no,
I don't
no.
think most people would get married off as teenagers.
Right.
Everyone in my world gets married off at
Right.
19, 18,
Right.
17.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they're what's called a never. Like, again, like the
There's something-
1800s, they're
there's
an old
something-
maid. Nobody wants to marry them because
Right.
don't forget, the next year a whole new slew of
Right.
19-year-olds comes out. And the next year another whole slew of 19 years old. So these guys have, you know, tens of thousands of 19-year-old girls to choose from. They're
That's
not going to
correct.
want a 22-year-old. Right?
That's
She's
right.
old. She's an old maid.
Yes.
What's
Wow.
wrong with her?
Yeah.
So
you know,
you don't have
that's-
autonomy.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. And I think they don't have dating apps. They have
I know.
They don't have dating apps, so they don't go into.
But we
all
don't really
this.
date.
They don't date. They find one person who their families agree on. They make a match, and then that's it. And you know what? It's mostly works for them.
No, it
But
doesn't.
then, oh, you don't think
doesn't
it
work
does?
for anyone. Of course not.
I don't know. I don't
doesn't
know.
work.
They're
It's-
so
it's-
secluded from the regular
No,
part
of course
society.
it doesn't work. Only not because of Judaism or anything else, but because of human nature.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard enough to live with someone you love.
Mhm.
That's right.
Even if you love someone, marriage is massive work.
well, marriage is
if-
difficult.
The marriage is difficult. But if you don't love the person
Right.
and you're being
like
told,
torture.
stay in your lane, don't speak,
Right.
don't think, don't disagree with me ever, how can you be happy?
Right. You're right. You're right.
I think most people are happy with their children.
Right.
I think that they feel that their life is full of purpose. And so they make do.
Right.
And they tell themselves, he's not a bad guy. He's not
Right.
beating me.
Right.
It's fine.
Wait,
Right.
so what can we do to change?
Change the laws.
Okay.
But what I really think is, and I actually believe this is completely possible. So I have three reasons why there's a lot of faith here. Okay, here's my crazy idea. So, number one, historically, even the most extreme ultra-Orthodox community have changed laws. For example, go back a couple thousand years, men were allowed to marry multiple wives. Can't do that anymore.
Right.
Go back a couple thousand years, if a man raped a woman, he had to marry her. Why? Back then, because if he didn't, she was dead, literally dead.
Yeah.
Obviously now they're not making rapists.
Right.
They're not making women who've been raped marry their rapists,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of laws that have changed.
Mhm.
So I know that change is possible. They have changed laws before, laws that just don't fit with the rest of the world. Well, guess what, people? The laws with women don't fit anymore. So that's point one. Point two is women are standing up and saying no more for
Well,
the
that's
first time
true.
in history. There are women protesting the fact that A woman in my community cannot get a divorce. Her husband could beat her children, hang her out of a window. She cannot get a divorce without his permission. Think about that.
Right.
Now, although men can't marry multiple women, if his wife leaves him and he refuses to divorce her,
Right.
she can never get remarried,
Right.
because without a divorce,
Without a
she
get,
can't
right.
get married. However, he's allowed to remarry. So he can go on and have another life and another wife and everything while she's stuck single without any recourse and any help. And so all of a sudden, women in my world are standing up and saying, no, this is outrageous. We want a voice. We want rights. So my message is, guys, stand up. If you say, we want to go to college, we want to have autonomy, we want to make decisions, we know that men are perfectly capable of controlling themselves. We're not going to cover ourselves anymore. We're not going to hide and not sing and not dance or become public speakers or have professions because men are too afraid of us.
But then can't they just leave the community if
But
they
that's
don't
the
want
thing.
any of
But
this?
where
They
are they
shouldn't
gonna
have to
go?
leave. But the
They-
beauty
right.
is, if they don't want to leave, they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
You want to be religious? You should be.
Right.
Force the men to change. If you say no more, because that's the thing, you're taught to police yourself. You're taught that it's what God wants, and you feel guilty for not being okay with it. If women understand that this is nothing to do with God, and this has everything to do with human nature and greed and avarice, and that laws that may have once made sense no longer do. If women stand up and say no more, that's it.
Yeah,
It's
the
done.
power of
I just
of the
need
woman.
all my women
Yeah.
to get up and say no more.
What
All
a-
right.
I love the
I think
I'm like ready to get up.
Let's do it.
You don't have to worry about it.
No, I know, but I feel it through
No,
the
right,
through the mic.
absolutely. But now let's change gears. So now we have a world right now that's upside down, and you have used your platform because you did have a very famous show. You've had a very crazy now divorce from your second husband. How was that something you even saw coming? Because the press, from what we saw, we thought you looked like you were blindsided.
Oh, well, yes and no. So I'm the one who asked for a divorce. I asked for a divorce 9 months into our marriage.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Nobody knows that.
Oh, all right. Oh, wow, guys, listen to the
Ta-da!
podcast. It's a reveal.
I asked for a divorce in April 2020, which we got married in end of June 2019.
After filming the show.
Actually, we started filming in August.
Okay.
So very soon
2020.
after you got married.
Yeah. So while we were filming, we were already not sleeping together, not being husband and wife, so to speak. He wouldn't let my kids in my house. It was a constant fight
Well, that's no
between,
good.
I mean, he wouldn't give them keys. He tried to make them make appointments to see me. I was like,
Well,
what was
that
his
all
reason?
about?
I was his.
Oh, again, you.
I was his.
Right.
He once told me that his perfect dream of a relationship was kind of like Rapunzel, where he could put me in a tower, no one else could visit me, and he just had me all
Yeah.
to himself. So he hated the fact that
Didn't want to share.
didn't want to share.
Well, do you think you were sort of attracted to that type because you were used to that?
Not sort of,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I
Mhm.
married a man who could have very comfortably lived in my community.
Right.
That's
Right.
the reality.
Yeah.
I have to acknowledge that. The
Right.
reality is, I met him 2 years after I left my community. I left in end of 2012, so November 2012, so just say 2013.
Mhm.
I met him in the middle of 2015. We started dating in 2016, right? I was 3 years old. What did I know about anything? I didn't
right.
know anything. I was
Although
literally
Silvio's
3.
not Jewish though, right? He was Italian.
No, he was Italian, which
Yeah.
to me at that point was like, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like,
you're gonna have a whole.
I'm gonna have a
different-
whole new life,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And he was brilliant and so well read. He had been to all the places I just read about. He was
Mhm.
this fascinating,
Mhm.
course.
worldly, intellectual, this brain. Like, my mind is an unusual place, right? Most people can't keep up with me. And I could talk about pantheism and Descartes and Spinoza, and he knew what I was talking about. Like,
Right.
it was just so much fun.
Mhm.
And
Was he ever married before?
yes, married with 3 children who
Oh, he
also
had
don't
3
speak.
children.
Who also don't speak to him.
Mhm.
Again, there were so many warning signs.
Red
Right.
flags.
But I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Right,
I didn't know
You were
anything.
you
I
were looking at loving,
literally-
you were in love with love at that
I
moment.
was literally 3. And my kids saw it right away.
Mm.
I'll be honest. My kids kept warning me, something's not right, Ema. something's not right. He's cruel. I was like, what are you talking about? He's the loveliest.
So you didn't listen to them at all.
Not remotely.
Wow.
I genuinely thought that, they were wrong.
Right.
And that they were thinking that because they weren't used to me dating a non-Jew.
Right.
That's what I literally thought.
Right.
I would have thought the
Every
same.
word they said
was
was true.
Now, do you listen to their advice more?
So after that fiasco,
Okay.
we now have a new rule in my house.
I like the rules.
Okay. So the new rule is that if I like someone, but it applies to all of us, if any of my kids or myself like someone, really like someone,
Mhm.
they have to come to a family dinner.
Right.
And then the family gets to vote on them. And if the family doesn't like them,
They're off the
they're
island.
out.
No.
Out. And it's actually, there was one person I was like, oh, I may actually like him.
Mhm.
Brought him to dinner. My kids were like, Ema, absolutely not.
Interesting.
And I broke up with him the next day.
Wow.
I wasn't taking a chance. If my
Right.
kids didn't like him, I knew he wasn't the guy for me.
Yeah, if it's an absolutely not, that's
Yeah.
more than like, I'm not sure, I don't know him
When
well,
all my
whatever.
children say Ema, no,
No,
Yeah.
then you know.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we even discussed this when you've had a serious boyfriend, which is one of 900,000 boyfriends you've had.
No,
Good
but not,
for her.
not serious.
But not serious. But one of the ones you've had,
Yeah.
you have to bring them to the family. The
You have
family
to.
has to say,
Yeah.
this is the right guy for you. And
That's
then
it.
if it is, it is. But you have to have approval if you want your family on board because
It's
they
not-
know you the best.
Right. Honestly, to me, that's number one is very true because your family knows you and
Yeah,
they're
they
looking
do.
out for you and they're
Uh-huh.
protective. But even more so, we're a
Wanna-
package deal.
Right. You want to live
Mhm.
all
If
together.
you don't like my children,
Right.
I'm not going to go anywhere near you.
Right.
We come, the five of
Right.
us together.
Right.
You either love all of us
Right.
or you love none of us.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
love
that's
that.
you're right.
I do think there is the caveat of like, if you haven't met the person yet, you can't make too many prejudgments
Right.
or anything like that. But once you meet them, and if you're like,
Yeah, it's a dinner. They
yeah,
have
a
no
dinner.
It's a
judgments
dinner.
before
No,
dinner.
of
Yeah.
course not.
We have a long dinner. We spend 4 hours.
Mhm.
We laugh. The guy, of course, doesn't know, although now I'm
Right.
saying it on a
Now
podcast. So
he's
hopefully
gonna
he's not
know.
listening to this podcast. But, and you really learn a lot about things. And we've had it happen to one of the other kids where
Mhm.
someone brought someone home.
Right.
And we were like, no. And that person left.
Yeah.
Gone. Goodbye.
Well, we've said this very often because this is a generational podcast. The same things apply to young people as to older people
Yeah.
who are dating and who
Yeah.
are going out on a date with someone that the family doesn't know. You have to have approval from the whole group. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
be a mad love affair,
Exactly.
but they have to say no. He's a good person.
Exactly.
Because they really want to share in your happiness,
Mhm.
and I think it's important to bring somebody
Yep.
back to your house and really
also,
see it.
when you're in, love
Right.
or you have
Yeah.
strong emotions and
Yeah.
there's,
It's
other things
sometimes
happening,
Hard
Right.
to
you
see
may not
something.
always see things
Yeah.
the way they
No
are.
question.
Yeah,
No
I
question.
feel. Has lust ever blinded you?
Oh, honey, yes.
It did.
That's
No
like, are you a
doubt.
woman?
It
Yeah.
did.
Hello, look at where I
So
ended
you were
up.
really only married to your second husband a year.
Well,
Really,
we were
I mean,
technically married
together.
2 years,
Together, right?
but we were only living as husband and
Right.
wife for 9 months.
Right.
There's so many things that go into being a boss and being an entrepreneur and all the hurdles, especially being a woman in any industry.
That's why people have to work with their grandmas.
Yeah. No, but
Because
even,
I think
mean,
you're right. I think
yeah,
you're right.
because
100%
you
of the
scoot
time.
through, but I still I'm having calls with brands and whatever.
Right.
Like, none of it is easy. Like,
Right.
success isn't easy. Gaining a following
Mhm.
isn't easy. So I know it's like a big question, but like, any advice to women or anyone out there who are really starting from ground zero?
Like me.
Yeah.
I started like below ground zero. I was
Yeah.
like sub-zero.
Yeah.
Yes, I would give you 3 pieces of advice. Advice number 1, never think that you know all the answers. Be an eternal student. Don't, this to me is the crux of all success. Somehow, from the minute we stop going to school, we stop being proud of how quickly we learn new things and we become proud of how much we know. That is the kiss of death.
Right.
Because what's real today is gone tomorrow. And technology is changing our lives at such an incredibly fast pace. Instead of hiding your head in the sand and saying, well, that's not the way it's been done, just embrace the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the questions, continue to learn, continue to be a student, continue to educate yourself.
Mhm.
And that will put you in a position of tremendous power because most people just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
It's
terrified of
scary.
the unknown.
It was
Yeah.
scary.
They're
but-
terrified of the unknown. They like doing what they're comfortable doing because it feels comfortable, it's easy, it's
Mhm.
safe. But it's also boring and it's not
and
really
you're going to be
living.
left behind because somebody is always going to be pushing the button to go forward.
Yes.
So you've got to keep your mind open and keep learning.
So
I mean-
that would be advice number
Okay,
one.
Yeah.
That's a good
Keep
one.
learning.
That is good.
Advice number two, talk to yourself. I know that sounds so crazy, and people laugh at me all the time because I literally talk to myself all the time.
Mm.
Why? There are going to be a million voices all around you telling you you can't. And they'll be your friends, and they'll be like, oh, this is such a great idea, but like, are you sure you're not too old to start this?
Totally.
Like, think about it.
Yeah.
And they'll be your friends giving you advice. Why? Because you changing your position disturbs the order of
Yeah,
everybody
the
else.
Same thing again.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and those voices, no matter how much you pretend you're going to ignore them, they make an impact.
Mhm.
Your voice has to be louder.
Yep.
Every time someone tells you you can't, you better get in front of a mirror, look at yourself in the face and say, I can.
Right.
Because if you don't, you won't.
Right.
Mhm.
It's that simple.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's rule number 2.
I
So
love
good.
These two rules.
The confidence in yourself is like so underrated.
Yeah,
Important.
but it's even more than confidence. I would say it is uncompromising will
Mhm.
more than confidence. Meaning, I don't care what happens. I don't care what people say. I don't care
Yeah.
what they're
I'm gonna
going
try
to
it.
come at me. I will not stop until I succeed.
Mhm.
Right? So it is just this full on will.
Focus.
Focus. I am not going to stop until I win. And just keep telling yourself that. And then you'll win.
It's
Mhm.
great. Those are good rules, everybody.
There's a
listening.
number 3.
Okay.
That's number 3.
No,
No.
that was number 2.
That was
You're
number
not
2.
listening.
I am.
No, it's
I
just
am
there
listening.
are. She's right because they have components to
Yes.
them.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Give us the third.
And then the third one is you can't do it alone. You have to have support.
Mm.
Nobody knows everything. You cannot be an expert in everything. You cannot be brilliant at everything. The minute you don't understand how to delegate, how to create a circle around you of people who have expertises that differ from your own,
Mhm.
it doesn't work.
Right.
If you micromanage, if you try to control everything, if you think you know everything, again, you fail. You need a team of people. The people who are with me in Plus Body, my new company, have
Mhm.
been with me since La Perla,
Okay.
the
Wow.
same group of people. Because once you find your people,
They'll stay with you no matter what.
they'll stay with you no matter what.
They know you.
Loyalty.
Well, it's like an old friend.
Yeah.
Somehow an old friend is still always a friend.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
So
it's
how did
something
you
important.
find those people?
No, I mean,
Well,
it took me time.
Yeah,
It takes
of
time.
course.
It's
You
the
just collect
hardest thing.
them
You
throughout
collect
the
them.
way
But when
and-
you find one,
Yeah.
you give them as much loyalty as they give you. Like
Right.
every member of my company
Mhm.
owns a piece of my company.
Right.
I
Right.
gifted it to them the first day they joined because they know that as high as I go, that's how high
That's
they
how
go.
they go.
Mhm.
So you need a group of people. You need uncompromising will. You need to talk to yourself every day. And you need to be an eternal student. And if you can do those things, you will succeed. There's no way that anyone will stop you. I am 1,000%,
Right,
a
right.
1,000%. convinced.
Bravo. That's a good course for college.
Yeah, I actually love that. You need a master class.
She
Yeah,
does. She
that's-
really
I would love
does.
to do that, actually. It's a great idea.
It's a good idea.
Have you given your kids this advice and do you think they take it?
Well, yeah, I know they take it.
Yeah.
Well, one daughter that your youngest daughter was at
Miriam?
Stanford. Miriam was at Stanford now. She must have graduated since
Yeah.
we had. So is she still out on the West Coast?
Miriam is currently traipsing around the planet. So right
Good for
now,
her.
today, she's in Vietnam.
Okay, good, good.
She supports herself.
Right.
She's a genius techie, so
Very
she
smart.
goes and
No, I
does these
remember that.
small jobs for different tech
Okay.
companies.
Okay.
But Sheva is, I mean, living an incredible life. Again, also completely self-motivated,
Right.
self-employed.
But she got divorced.
Huge business.
Mm-hmm.
Got divorced.
But got divorced.
Dating, living in
Alright.
Miami, having the best life.
Uh-huh.
Shlomo is my COO of every company I own.
Oh,
Amazing.
He
Okay.
works with me every day.
Okay.
He's a genius. I'm so grateful to have him. So yeah, they all have a massive work ethic.
That's wonderful.
They don't think anything is coming to them. They don't think they're entitled to anything.
Well, they work
They're
hard.
very grateful. They work very hard, and they know that freedom is not something to take for granted.
Right.
So they don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a good relationship with their dad?
Yeah.
Still, which is
Great
great.
relationship.
So that's the
Very
that's the
important
key.
to me.
It's
It was
very
very
important,
important to me.
especially for any divorced couple. It's always harder on the children if the parents don't get along. If they get along, relatively, so that they can be a cohesive front together
Exactly.
in decisions, it makes the kids much more secure
Yep.
and able to make decisions for themselves
Mhm.
much easier.
Yep.
I really believe that.
Yeah, you can see how independent they all are, and I follow Batchev and Miriam, so I know more what they're up to, I guess, on a daily basis. But they've also been posting a ton about supporting Israel,
Of
as
course.
you have, and I wanted to hear a little bit about the foundation that you
Oh,
started and the work
great.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to talk about that. So I realized that we're fighting two concurrent wars, right? We're fighting the war in Israel against the terrorist organization Hamas, in Gaza, and all of that. Hostages, all the terrible things that have been perpetrated upon the Jewish people. Concurrent to that, we are fighting what could almost be a more dangerous,
Mhm. Insidious.
more insidious, and have much more far-reaching consequences. And that is the war that's happening globally on social media,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
that anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, has become cool
Mhm.
and popular. You have college students
Yeah.
not just supporting,
But,
But-
out there.
sitting there just, to say that cutting off a 15-year-old's
Mhm.
breasts while you rape her is justifiable.
Right.
That a 19-year-old woman in this country can stand there and say that is
It's-
incomprehensible.
well,
It's
they're
monstrous.
not educated. They're talking as uneducated people who are going to college and being taught by professors who are basically anti-Semite.
Not basically. They are
right, and they've been
intrinsically
funded
anti-Semite.
for the last 25 to 30 years
by Qatar.
by very, very bad actors. And this has been going on a long time. We have not stopped it. A lot of it, and I must honestly say, I've had this conversation with other people, including people from American Jewish Committee and other things. They fell down on their jobs. They did not see it. They did not call it out early enough. And, you don't wait till the fire to put it out. This should have been done a long time ago at all these elite universities, and stopped. And if the heads of the university and the teachers can't stop it, then what happened now, and it's still not working so great, but the big donors who are Jewish have to pull their money out. Let them get the money from the federal government, but don't give them a dime. So people are trying. We're trying to form groups that will stop anti-Semitism in our local communities, but it is a
Not
sickness.
working.
It is
Yeah.
a sickness.
Also, it's not just college students. Like, a lot of people my age and older, obviously, also.
Well, they were taught the same philosophy.
Right, maybe.
You're not out of school 30 years. So this has been going on for a long
Yeah.
time, since before 9/11. So that
Yeah.
we
So-
were invaded here. So,
First of all,
what is your
yeah, but-
foundation
I'm going to tell you
specifically
the
doing?
foundation in a second, but I
Yeah.
want to, for a second, because again, you're so on the money.
Well, I do this all the
Yeah,
time.
you are. You've just got it so right, and I want people to hear you, because I think, number one, first of all, I don't think most people in America realize that colleges, the Ivy Leagues, have a
Mhm.
history of massive anti-Semitism. Right?
Mhm.
The whole admissions system
Yeah.
was originally created to keep Jews out.
Quotas. Yeah, exactly.
So, I couldn't believe it when I started reading about this and educating myself about it. Do you know that a bunch of the universities in this country sent teams of students to Nazi Germany to meet with Hitler and have spent semesters
In the
Nazi
In
Germany
the 30s. Well,
in the late 30s?
Well, we had anti-Semites in our government during FDR's thing.
But they
I mean,
literally
and-
sent
you know,
boatloads of students to
but-
Nazi Germany.
Yeah,
So
but that's always been there.
that's what I'm saying.
you
So
know,
it's
this has
always
always
been this
been there.
layer of anti-Semitism
But
in
it
these
was
Ivy
always
Leagues.
underneath the surface. What's happened since
It's
October?
risen to the top.
it's-
And I think, to your point, Shlomo was in Colombia.
Mhm.
Shlomo. So I'm putting myself as part of the problem. Shlomo came to me probably 3 years ago, more. What are we in now? 2024. He graduated 3 years ago. So probably 4 or 5 years ago, and said, Ima, every class I have, they're teaching me anti-Semitic
Yeah.
things.
Right.
Oh,
This is
wow.
crazy. I'm
Yeah.
doing this. And what did I say to him? I poo-pooed him. I'm like,
well,
just
because
some
we
stupid
didn't believe it.
teachers.
We didn't
I
believe it.
didn't believe him. I literally said to myself, this is America.
Right.
I was wrong. We
Right.
were complacent.
Yep.
And
That's
even
correct.
more than complacent, we let them get away with it.
Mhm. Well, look what just happened now. They let the students who went into the halls of Columbia, destroyed property. They were all just released by our wonderful, what do you call him, Attorney General, whatever the hell that Alvin Bragg is. I'm cursing because I'm so aggravated what they're doing
No,
to
I
New
mean, it's
York and what
outrageous.
and it's outrageous because you should not everybody has to love you, but they shouldn't hate you and not allow you to be educated, not allow you to go to
Racism
class.
should apply
To everybody.
to everybody.
To everybody.
Even Jews.
And even Jews. We're not below humanity. I mean, when the
Yes.
Red Cross doesn't go in to check the hostages and let them die in tunnels without any aid, there wouldn't be a dime that I would ever send to the Red Cross. And I think all these things have to be out there.
That's it.
The organizations, the women's organizations who have not been good on the Jewish women being raped, they have not spoken out. They really have not. And so a lot of them is the fault of a group of elitist women right here in the United States who have not spoken out. And so I blame a lot of things, but I think we have to
So here's
speak
my
up.
plan. You
Yeah.
ready for this?
I want to
have
hear
a
your
plan.
plan.
I've liked all your
It's a
I
plans
want to
genius
hear
plan.
your plan.
It is
'cause
a genius plan if I don't say so
Okay.
myself. Okay, so here we go. So I realized we're fighting two wars. And we're losing the war on social media, which
Mhm.
makes no sense to me because, again, like wars, we have all the
We all-
facts.
right.
We have the truth.
Hmm.
Why is no one listening to the truth? Okay. So then I completely shifted my mindset. I was like, I keep on calling it war, but no one's treating it like war. What do I mean by that? I said to myself, okay, let's actually assume that social media is a theater of war. How does one win a war? What do you need to win a war?
You have to be smarter
No,
and
but
do
saying,
a
what do
better.
you need? The first thing you need to win a war.
People to
need-
fight,
Well, what are people who fight called?
soldiers.
Warriors.
An army. An army.
An army.
You need an army. You can't win a war without an army. What is an army comprised of? First, number one, you need
People.
people. You need people. You need soldiers. Now, what do soldiers need?
Equipment.
Weapons, right?
Weapons.
Can't have a war without soldiers and weapons. However, that's not what actually makes an army. Why did Napoleon lose in Russia?
Well, I
The
think
Grandma Gail.
I think it was cold.
She is correct.
I think
Grandma
they
Gail
couldn't-
is right. They lost in Russia because they had no coats. They
Correct.
froze to death. They had more soldiers, superior weapons, and yet they didn't have the support system. The third part of the army, the most critical part of the army, is the support system. And yes, support system is bed and coats and food and all that stuff. However, the most critical part of the support system is the no man left behind philosophy.
Mhm.
What do I mean by that? If you've read any books on World War I or World War II, what do they always say? You don't fight in the end. You're not fighting for your country. You're not fighting for an ideal. You're
for your
fighting for
group.
the person next to you
Yeah.
in the foxhole, right?
Right.
It's that unit. It's the, if I'm in trouble, my team comes to get me. That is what an army is.
Mhm.
An army is not just soldiers and weapons. An army is that no man left behind philosophy. So I'll give you an example. I was in Israel December and January. And as far as I know, I think I'm the only person, maybe someone else recently, I don't know, who went into Gaza with an active unit, not into the tunnels where they're letting in
Right.
all the other
Right.
reporters and all that stuff. I actually went with an active unit into Gaza where they were cleaning houses of
Right.
bombs and
Right.
missiles. I mean, the
Right.
stuff they were finding under kids' beds.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
that's
there.
What they do.
I
That's what they do.
was there. I saw it. Okay. So while we're there, because I'm with an active unit,
Mhm.
a couple 100 feet away from us, all of a sudden, soldiers come under fire, and 3 soldiers get shot. And all of a sudden, bullets are flying.
Right.
So
At us.
scary.
Right.
We drop to the ground.
You've never experienced anything like that. I'm
Well, yes, actually, I have because I was
Oh.
in Ukraine
Oh, okay.
the year before in the
Right.
front lines
Any
in
place where there's a
Bakhmut,
Right.
war.
almost getting blown up. Apparently, I am
Right.
now a war correspondent. Go
Exactly.
figure.
I was just going to say.
So actually, it wasn't the first time I've been
Okay.
shot at. It was actually way more safe than in the sense that I felt safer.
Yeah.
And the reason I did is because within literally 5 seconds, helicopters came from all over the
Yeah.
place, Helicopter pick them up and carry them away. Soldiers surround. I mean, I have never felt safer in my life. That's an army.
Mhm.
When you're behind enemy lines, they come and rescue.
Get you.
Okay, so now let's look at social media. We've got the soldiers. The soldiers are the people out there telling the world the truth about Hamas, how
Mhm.
terrible it is for Muslim women, for Christian women, for LGBTQ. Hamas is bad for all humanity. They're out there. What are their weapons? The weapons are the stories they're
Yep.
telling.
Right.
Why are we losing? Because when someone gets attacked behind enemy lines, no one comes to their
Mhm.
rescue. When Noah from Stranger Things says Zionism is sexy and 500,000 people drop him and try to get his show canceled, where's his unit? He's behind enemy lines. He's being vilified and attacked for defending the Jewish people, and no one comes to his rescue. And most people cannot fight without that knowledge, right? If you've ever seen Fauda on Netflix,
Right.
it's about this small group of people who go in behind enemy lines, and if they get caught,
Right.
there's 23 of them in real life because most people are too afraid. They don't want to go behind enemy lines if they know that they'll be on their own if they become in danger.
Mhm.
And that's why what's happening in social media is as follows. If you stand up for the Jewish people, it is counterproductive to your own self-interest. And what people don't understand who aren't in the entertainment or fashion or any of these, ancillary industries is that followers are currency.
Right.
Their
It's
money,
business.
their power. You
Mhm.
get your show because of your followers. You get brand deals because of followers. Followers are today's currency.
Mhm.
So if you speak up on behalf of the Jewish people, you're going to get attacked. People are going to call you horrible things. They're going to say they want to kill you, and you're going to lose your followers. You're going to lose jobs. You are going to be behind enemy lines, and no one is coming to your rescue.
Mhm.
So number one, the people who are out there in the front lines, like you guys,
Right.
like me, we get attacked, and it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not good,
But,
but you have to
I'm
do
like
it.
I don't give a flying
Right.
fuck,
Yeah.
excuse my language, come
Yeah.
and get me, you
Right.
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But, sorry, excuse my
No,
language.
you're fine.
That's good.
But most people can't do that, right?
Right.
So I realized that that's what we're missing. We're missing the support system. So luckily, while I understand, okay, that's what we're missing, how do I get that? I watched this movie called Dumb Money. Dumb Money is about the whole thing with GameStop and the financial industry. So for those people who aren't familiar with it, there was this guy living in his
In a
parents' basement
In a basement.
who believed that the financial industry was undervaluing GameStop. And he started talking about it on Reddit,
Mhm.
of all places. Anyway, people start investing, and it's called dumb money because they're talking about people who have $10, $100, $1,000, people who can't move markets, who have no real financial understanding. So their money is dumb money, right? That's how
Right.
the financial industry looks down on people.
Well, you have these certain, right.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens? He uses Robinhood, this app, and all of a sudden, all of these people who have no power, who are dumb money, aggregate. And what happens? They topple Wall Street.
Mhm.
They
do.
topple Wall Street. The power of unity, the power of aggregation.
So how are you going to go
Okay,
about
so
this?
here
with
you
the
go.
job? Because this we understand,
on.
but we're still in the minority.
I don't know.
now.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Here's why. So I came up with this idea. I call it Am Nation. Because Am Yisrael Chai. Am is nation in Hebrew.
Mhm.
And I spell it AHM because otherwise everyone's going to say Am Nation and it's going to drive me crazy. So the name is Am Nation. Now here's the idea. Every morning, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Come on, you open
Check
your
my
eyes,
phone.
check your phone. So imagine if we ask people, every human being on earth who cares about truth and justice, who does not want their granddaughter wearing a hijab and not being able to be educated and not being able to drive a car, who doesn't want terrorists ruling their world, sign up. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to post anything. Every morning, you're going to wake up, you're going to open your eye,
Mhm.
you're going to take your phone, and there's going to be a push notification. And on that push notification is going to be 3 names. You're going to push and follow those 3 names.
Hmm.
It takes less than 3 seconds. And yet, imagine if 1 million people now, there are
How many of you
16 million Jews
Right.
in the world.
got? Right.
In Israel, there are 4.5 million social media users who most of them are sitting at home saying, how do I help? What do I do? I don't have money. I don't have lots of followers. How do I help the Jewish people? This is how you help. Because imagine if 1 million people sign up. 400,000, 500,000 people. Let's say you have 200,000 followers and you're out there fighting on behalf of the Jewish people and you get attacked and people threaten you and vilify you and you lose 100,000 followers. And you wake up, we put your name on Omnation. You wake up the next morning with 1 million new followers. It is game, set, match. You can't buy 1 million followers.
Right.
You can't, I have a show that was in top 10 in 192 countries.
Wow.
192 countries. And I only have 500,000 followers. So to give someone 1 million followers, imagine if 5 million people sign up. Now, here's the beauty of it. Yes, the terrorists, there are more of them.
Right.
However, it's the Spanish Armada and the British fleet. We may be tiny, but we're agile.
Okay.
We can aggregate.
Right.
And that aggregation, you can only unfollow someone once. So what can they do? If that person's name is going on that website, they're already being hated. They're already being attacked. The only way you get your name on that list is if you are in trouble because you are a soldier fighting on behalf of the Jewish people.
So there are people who are posting content
And we
pretty
do it all the time,
frequently
right.
about
We're going to put their name on that website, and 1 million people, 2 million people are going to follow them. What's that going to accomplish? Number one, for those people already supporting the Jewish people, they are going to feel a lot safer. Because I know from everyone I've spoken to and myself, I've gotten death threats. I've had people throw things at me from cars. Like, it's frightening out there. It ain't easy. So for those of us who are already out there fighting, we have protection. But the most important thing is for all those people sitting on the sidelines,
To get involved.
keeping silent because they're afraid to speak up because they don't want people, let's be honest, are generally driven by self-interest. They're not going to do anything if it's going to hurt them.
Yep.
And right now, standing up for the truth, standing up against terrorism, standing up for the Jewish people is bad for you.
Right.
However, I'll give you a perfect example. I get people every day when I'm working on a new television show and I have a lot of contacts in the entertainment industry. If I tell you how many hundreds of people have come up to me personally, said, Julia, I wish I could speak up. Of course, what you're saying is right, but I can't because X, Y, Z.
Well, look at Hollywood has not spoken up.
But those are the people
Hollywood
I'm talking
has been
about.
Steven Spielberg.
But
who was
imagine
one
if
of
they
the
speak
great-
up and you get 1 million new followers.
But
How
they
much
haven't
money
spoken
do
up,
you
and
bet?
I don't understand why.
Well, here's
people
why.
like that have not spoken
But
up.
you know why.
No,
I just
I don't know
explained
why.
Yes,
why.
He
because-
does not know.
because
But
they're
there are
going to
certain
lose people who like that.
They are going to lose.
Do you think Steven Spielberg
Yes.
and people like that
Yes,
care?
Yeah, 'cause
yes,
they-
they
Really?
do. Their next movie,
Yeah.
of course, people are driven by self-interest. And
'Cause
right
they
now,
clearly are
Yeah,
out
but
of the
he might
picture.
think, okay, then these people aren't going to invest in my next film,
That's
or these
right.
people aren't
I
going to
mean,
see my next
why
film.
bother? Like, why get involved,
Mhm.
right? I don't want to make a mess.
Mhm.
I don't want to lose. Look, Gal Gadot got up and congratulated that lovely woman who was singing for Israel on Eurovision. 500,000 people left her. Who left her.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't matter if she woke up the next morning
had
and
a
2
million.
million
Right.
people
So we
followed
want
her.
to comment, like,
So
interact
no,
with.
you don't need to do any of those.
Oh.
You sign up to Omnation, and when we activate it, we haven't activated yet.
Yeah.
Sign up to Omnation. Put your name in there. We will send you push notifications. I think we launch in mid-September. We will send you push notifications, and we will make it safe
Well, that's the
to
other
speak
thing.
up for the Jewish
Right,
people.
right.
It's game, set, match. It
Right.
really
So when is
is.
it launching?
September
September.
15th.
Okay.
So until then, what we need is people to sign up. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to do anything. I'm not asking you to post. Sign up. Your voice, if it's aggregated with everyone else's,
Becomes
can change everything. Then we have an army.
good.
Mhm.
Then we can fight a war.
Mhm.
Come on.
All right, I love
love
it. I
it.
love it.
Genius.
Okay.
No, it is. That's
All
a
right,
really
bravo.
exciting thing to look forward to. You mentioned
Thank
a new
you.
show. Any other things that
Kimberly,
are
after
in
that,
the
I don't
works?
think we have to ask her one more question. She's done.
Yes, I do have another show that I'm working on right now that I'm really excited about. And then, well,
Well,
okay,
you'll see.
I can't.
You'll
I
see.
can't. I
We'll
can't.
look out
yeah,
for it.
yeah, I
We'll-
can't.
we'll look
talk
out
about
for
the
your-
other
all
stuff.
your
I've got a
wonderful
lot of
things
other
to
things,
come.
and
Okay,
I've got
good.
Plus Body, my shaper company, which
Yeah.
I'm super excited about. And this, which is my second season. So my first season, we sold I don't want to say we sold out. I think we have like 8 or 9 pieces left. So we almost sold out,
That's wonderful.
which is really exciting. And our
Mhm.
second season, we're going to be international. We're going to be in countries outside of the United States. I'm really excited about that.
Mhm.
And for my second season, we are introducing a bra shapewear clothing hybrid.
Hmm.
Tank tops, t-shirts, camisoles that have the bra built inside
Right.
that are sold by your dress size and your cup size
Okay.
and also suck you in.
Amazing.
So one thing, 3 things in one.
Amazing.
Sounds
I'm
great.
really excited. It's
Very
so
good.
fabulous.
Great.
So many fabulous things. I
Thank
want to end with playing a quick game that we play with all our
Oh,
guests.
fun. I love a game.
So it's called Grandma Gail's Old Fashioned Dating Quiz.
oh
So
boy.
we'll see
No,
whether you're
nothing,
more.
nothing. No, we know where. I know.
Yeah,
where
you
you're
know where my
going.
head is
I
at.
know where
Yeah,
you're
but
going.
let's make sure. So
Sure.
would you rather receive a call or a text from someone you're dating if it's just to say hi?
A call.
Would you sleep with someone on the first date?
No.
Dating apps or setups?
For what?
Hopefully
for
for a
fun?
date.
Oh,
Oh,
Dating
whatever
apps
your intentions
For
are.
setups for something
Yeah.
more serious.
Okay, so
Okay,
room for both.
okay.
Room for both.
Would
Sometimes you just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Sometimes
okay.
you want to be serious.
Okay.
Would you move in with someone before getting engaged?
I'm never getting married again under
Oh.
any circumstance, ever. I want to live with someone. I want
Yeah.
to fall in love. I want someone to wake up every morning and choose to be
Wants a
with me.
companion.
No, I want someone to wake up every morning
Yeah.
and choose me.
Yeah,
Right.
no
Because
legal.
they're legally required
Right.
to
Right.
do so.
Right.
I get it. Who should pay for the date? Should it be one person in a couple or split, alternate?
Honestly, could care less.
Right.
Sometimes I pay, sometimes the guy pays. It's
Mhm.
generally been when I date really young guys who have no money and I'm
Right.
taking them
You're
to a
doing
fancy
it.
restaurant, I end up paying. I
Right.
don't really care.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes no difference.
Do you
Okay.
have a type when you're dating now?
Oh my gosh.
Let's just give her the result.
Well,
She's
here's
half
the thing.
and half.
I don't know. I don't know
She
what I
doesn't know
even
her type.
want.
Yeah.
I literally don't know my type. Like, I'm a huge
Well,
manifester.
we have a hat for her.
That says
What's
not
the
my
hat?
type.
It says now we're going to give it to you at the
I
end
know-
of
I
this.
literally don't
you
know.
could just.
Yeah.
I don't know what my type is. I'm
Well,
trying to figure it out
You're
as I
gonna
go along.
You'll figure it out. You'll
I've never
figure it out.
dated.
You're a
This is the
smart-
first time in my
that's
life
the
I'm
issue.
dating.
See, that's the issue. She hasn't gone into the dating pool
Yeah.
really seriously.
never
and you have to
dated.
learn how to
Mhm.
date.
So I don't know how to date so much.
Right.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed.
Okay.
I'm a bit clueless when it comes to that. I'm going to be
Oh,
honest.
you'll
It
figure
could
it
be
out.
more about a person and not like a type of person.
But that's
you
the
know?
other thing. Like I know the traits that I want. What package they come in,
Right.
I have
Right.
no clue.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
that's
figure it out.
fair.
We're in the same boat.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh.
Julia, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much
joining
for
us.
having
Terrific,
me.
Tell
Julia. This was
everyone
inspirational.
how they can
Thank
follow
you.
you.
So you can find me at Julia Haart on Instagram, Body by Julia Haart on Instagram, bodybyjuliahart.com. On the web, I have a book, Brazen,
Oh,
which is sold anywhere books are sold, and sign up to Omnation. We can really
make a difference.
empower people, protect people, so they can stand up and speak on behalf of the Jewish people.
Terrific.
Amazing. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
And another great episode of Excuse My Grandma. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, TikTok, Instagram, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.